Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. Very much looking forward to talking to this next gentleman who really has dedicated his life to better health for others. And he has been in the healthcare arena for many years and still keeps giving back. We're going to dig into his life and some of the things that he's offering to help you improve your health. We make him our professional of the year, and he is the owner and health practitioner at Balance Health, LLC. Gene Fitzpatrick joins us now on the program. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Very well, very well. And loving the fact that we're going to get to talk with you and dig into your life and learn a lot, I believe, about our health. I want to start right out of the gate. Kinesiology. Many of us have heard that term. Many of us probably aren't sure what a kinesiologist is. Can you really break that down for us and enlighten us?
Well, as many listeners may know, kinetics is the study of motion. So kinesiology of all different flavors is all about manipulating the body through movements, kinetics, and finding pressure points and vascular points mostly on the head, that cause a recorrection of imbalances. So it's a series of techniques that were first developed by Dr. George Goodhart back in the late 1950s, when Dr. Goodhart got out of college and became a chiropractor. And you can imagine what kind of tough work that was back in the late 50s. And he got out of school, and like me, he wanted to help as many as he could, but he also realized that not everybody had an affinity toward chiropractic. Today it's more popular, but then it was like pulling teeth. So he went and studied the Chinese arts, and he learned about acupuncture and the meridians, which is the second communication system in the body, and how to make use of that connection between the muscles and the organs through the meridian system to put the body in the best possible place to heal. And
are you a believer?
In a nutshell.
Are you a believer in the body can really heal itself? If you give it everything it needs and it's in well balance, it can heal itself. Do you feel that way?
Oh, absolutely. I think to think otherwise is just, people not aware of the fact the first gift of life is your own life. I mean, that's your first gift. And why would you not support it is the question I have.
I agree with you. And I've learned that in my journey, how if your body's out of balance, picture a car. One wheel, one tire is off. Maybe two are. The car starts to wobble. It veers to the side. It's not moving forward the way it should be. And I personally feel that that's our bodies. If you're missing something, and what are those four wheels? Well, it could be nutrition, fitness, sleep, health in general. I want to go back to your beginning and the inspiration of your father, because it seems like your father was the inspiration for the start of a medically directed career. Can you tell us about that?
Well, honestly, I think like most kids that follow in their father's footsteps, they do so just because they fall into it or they're forced at some level. And it was no different for me. But the more I got into the medical model from the instrumentation side, the more I realized I wanted to help people. So at the time, I didn't believe in anything other than the cut, burn, poison routine, as I call it. And there's certainly a place for that. My uncle replaced hearts for a living. He also worked at Yale, and he told me when I was about 14, he said, I've never healed anybody. And I said, okay, one of the top surgeons in one of the top 10 hospitals on the planet has never healed anybody. What are you saying? He said, the body heals itself. I just keep them alive while they get around to it.
Wow.
Now, he would never say such things in front of his peers, you know. But in the family, he can be kind of honest about his approach on things. And that was a very interesting perspective for me. So I just continued on down that path until I found out that supporting the body concurrently with the medical model in a lot of cases is incredibly important.
Herbology is big for you. Can we talk about that? Supplements. A lot of us take things. We think we should be taking them. Sometimes we're not really sure. Some of us take vitamins. Some of us take minerals with that. What are your thoughts there?
Well, let me share a recent story that kind of lays the groundwork for that answer.
Sure.
3 weeks ago, a fellow came in here to my office in New Hampshire from Jamaica, and it was his first visit. And I went through the, as I call the balance session. I found 3 imbalances in his system. And after I balanced the body, I used what's called muscle testing to determine what nutrients they might need. And he needed nothing. And that was a pretty amazing realization for me. So why is it that you're a very healthy person in your 60s and you need no supplements? He said, well, because I only consume what grows in my backyard and fish. I live on an island. And everything I have, obviously, is nutritionally complete, not irradiated like all the food we have in this country.
Yep.
And he's just got his act together. He doesn't need any supplements. Well, sadly to say, I can't say that to people in this country. And it's largely because, as Dr. Bernard Jensen said in his book, Empty Harvest, our food is just void of the nutrients that we need to be healthy. That's just a biological fact. So the body must obtain the nutrients. It can't make them. You've got to consume them. Another interesting thing that strikes me along that arena is the body will continue to clean itself all the time. One of the first missions of the body is to eliminate waste. To give you an example of that, when you were a child, if you were swimming underwater holding your breath, you felt pressure build up in your lungs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're just below the surface. Where does that pressure come from? You're not inhaling anymore. And when you break the surface of the water, what's the first thing you do? Inhale or exhale?
Well, let me see. I guess if you, I have to think about that. You want to exhale. Well, you have to exhale to make room to inhale.
Well, you have to exhale to get rid of the carbon dioxide that's building up in your lungs.
Yes.
That's where the pressure comes from. Carbon dioxide is a waste product of cell growth. And you're constantly building cells. Every time you move, you destroy cells. We call that friction, and you replace them. So you load up with carbon dioxide. That's where the pressure comes from. And the message in that story is that what triggers your ability and desire to breathe is waste. It's not a lack of oxygen. Think about it. We're mostly water. H2O, 2 parts oxygen. We're loaded with oxygen. In fact, we have to have antioxidants to keep from rusting, as it were. Right? So the first priority of the body is to eliminate waste.
Yeah, these are questions I never thought of, but it makes perfect sense. And when we talk about our food chain, and that gentleman from Jamaica, would you say, Gene, that if we went back 30 years, pick any time, just go back in time, that the food was much cleaner? And would you say back then we were much healthier in many regards?
Yes, absolutely, no question about it.
Wow.
A lot of the diseases that we hear of today didn't exist a couple of generations ago. Let me ask you, have you ever heard your grandmother complaining about menopause?
No.
I ask these questions, and people say, well, they didn't talk about it at that time. And my reply to that is, well, that's nonsense. If the lady of the house had hot flashes and mood swings, she wouldn't have to talk about it. Everyone in the house would know.
True, but all right. So I'm looking at it as a generational thing. Back in the day, those things, female connected type things, that wasn't really freely discussed. So I'm going to take a pass on that one for a moment. But interesting point though, because now, different generation, but it seems more prevalent that women have challenges with menopause. It just does.
And I'm not just talking about women here. I'm talking about the influence of hormones. Years ago, I had a bodybuilder come in here, and he chose to use chicken as his primary source of protein. And he wasn't consuming organic chicken. He was consuming, the stuff that's loaded with feminine growth hormones. Remember, chickens are female. And he had to get a breast reduction.
Wow. These are the things we don't think about. Certainly milk products or just milk. I don't consume milk. I'm okay with dairy, but milk in itself, many cartons say the cows are not treated with BH something or whatever, the growth hormone. But to your point, you take a look at a lot of girls nowadays. They're developing way earlier. And to your point, there you go, right there.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I want to pivot for just a moment, if I may, and ask you about a gentleman named Bill Fay. Who's that to you in your life?
My wife was suffering with severe depression, suicidal level, and cluster headaches. And most folks don't know what those are, but they make migraines look like just a walk in the park. That's where she was when we met. And I said, geez, what are we going to do about this? And by the time I met her, at that time, I didn't know anything about the Touch for Health techniques and all that. I just knew the Western medical model. And I knew enough to know that the Western medical model wasn't doing her any good. And the reason I knew that is because she'd been dealing with this for over 20 years in the Western approach and not getting anywhere. So it was pretty obvious that something had to be done outside that arena. And she said, I know this guy who does this herb thing. And I'm rolling my eyes at the time, and say, oh boy, okay. Well, if it makes you feel better, that's fine. But I didn't really believe it was going to help at the time. But we went 70 miles to his house, and standing there in front of Bill in Sterling, Mass, it was raining outside, but it was also raining inside. I'm painting this picture so you can understand where I was coming from. He had a hole in his roof, and it was dripping on the floor between us, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, and this is going to help. And then the picture got more complex. He said, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Sherman. Oh boy, another doctor? Yeah, but Dr. Sherman quit being a doctor, and she does muscle testing. I said, what? What is that? Well, you'll see. So we go into the office, and Dr. Sherman does some muscle testing, works a few pressure points on my wife, and sends us home with vitamins and herbs. And, I was kind of broke at the time. I couldn't really afford much. So when Bill said, you can get this stuff at wholesale if you sign up as a member, I said, oh boy, here we go. Another rah-rah thing, a multi-level marketing thing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, no, it is multi-level, but it is not a rah-rah thing, and the company's professional, and, he the highest quality in the world, the first herbal company, and all that. Okay, well, it's going to save me some money, so saving money is a good idea, and saving the wife is also a good idea. So I signed up. Bill became my sponsor. But as I continued down the path with this arena, and as my wife got well, Bill kept encouraging me to take classes and learn about the techniques that were used, which I did. And when Dr. Jennifer Wise, who's author of Colon Therapy, The Best Kept Secret, came out here from California and held a class in the Touch for Health techniques, I took the class, and out of the 50 people in that class, I'm the only one that still does it. Sadly to say, most people procrastinate themselves and are not getting anywhere with classes they're taking, but I continued to grow and went on to become an instructor for the Touch for Health Association, one of 14 in the nation, and continue to help people. So it just seemed like a natural progression.
Wow.
Now, what was also interesting is 3 years after my wife became well, when she was supposed to have been dead in 3 to 6 months, it's 40 years later, and she cooked the turkey yesterday, so I think she's still alive. And well,
either that or you door dashed and you forgot.
Something, maybe Memorex, I don't know.
Right.
But I told her at the time she was going through all this depression stuff, which she doesn't have anymore. I said, we got to get you over this before you go through menopause, because I'm not doing depression and menopause at the same time. It's just not going to happen. Well, she got over depression. She's past the menopausal years and never had any of those symptoms. I tell women, you're not designed to fall apart because you're female. Don't buy that nonsense. That's all happening to men and women both at different levels. Guys can't admit it because they take them away if they do, but it's only happening, I think, because of the hormones in the food supply and the imbalances that are created and the overuse of steroids, not just in the animals, but also in people. It's messing everybody up.
It's scary. It's concerning. And honestly, it's on my mind all the time. And I just bought some granola to add to a salad. I literally take a quarter of a handful just to add some crunch in there, right? I pick it up and, the package looked like it was a family-owned company, natural product. I get it home last night. I open it up and then I realize it doesn't say organic. And in my brain, in the throes of shopping in the grocery store, I thought it was, or I just assumed it was. And it's not. Not a bad thing. However, just one more layer, when you look at all the products out there and what we are consuming, I'm afraid to even say this, and I would love your feedback. Are we poisoning ourselves with our food supply right now?
Unequivocally, yes.
Yeah.
One of the people that would prove that, and honestly, I don't remember the year. I believe it was back in the 60s sometime. Linus Pauling took a bunch of cats, and he had them in large cages, because he wanted to make sure he knew what their eating habits were, their social habits were, and their litter box habits were. And he gave these cats different levels of processed foods. At one end of the spectrum, it was 100% processed, evaporated milk, high sugar stuff and everything. And the last cage had nothing but mice and birds, the things cats are meant to eat in the wild. The end that had all processed foods, there was no second generation. The males became docile, the females became aggressive. All the social and biological dysfunctions we're seeing in today's society were represented in those cats within one generation. The other end All these cats were perfectly healthy and thrived generation after generation, normal functions, everything was fine. So when people ask if the food supply has an effect, absolutely. And that was proven a long, long time ago.
Hearing that, Gene, makes me want to roll back a time machine and start all over again. For all of us. And it's the challenge here is most of us don't have a lot of time in our daily lives. So what are we doing? We try to make the best choices. Those of us who are even mindful of our health, but there's only so many choices out there. Of course, you can gravitate toward organic. Some will say, I don't have the budget for that. But short of that, it's, unless you're going to a farm stand and you're speaking personally with the farmer and knowing what he's putting on the produce, you don't know what you're eating. Scary.
Well, let me answer that if I can.
Please.
I don't like to come up with problems without presenting a solution. And to your point, people are looking for a solution, and a lot of people just say it's impossible. But I disagree. We do have a solution. And we've got several things working for us. Knowledge is one of them, okay? And if you go in the grocery store and you look at the stickers on the fresh fruits and vegetables, they mean something. Most of those stickers have a number on them that are 4 digits long. I'll give you an example. Bananas in this area have the number 4011. An organic banana has the number 94011. So if the number is 5 digits long and starting with a 9, it's organic.
Interesting.
A way to remember that is 9 is divine, 4 leave on the floor.
Wow. If there's any takeaway anybody has this week, please make it that. I had no idea, Gene, no idea that that was available. Interesting. We are just about out of time. Fabulous talking with you. There's so much to talk about, right down to the herbals. And I'm not going to say this statement just because you are aware of herbal remedies, supplements, and such, but it kept me out of the hospital a year ago this month. Not even kidding. And I'll explain that next time when we get together. Big proponent of that. Just amazing. Wonderful talking with you, Gene. I know that you've made things available, literature available for the general public at a very, very low cost. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I put together what I call body systems booklets. There are 18 of them. And my job is teaching, and I literally give away the store. So these booklets are a whopping $5 each. Even the unemployed can learn how to take care of themselves. They're located on my site, balancedhealthnh.com. And you can go there, go to the booklets page, and at the top of the page are buttons so you can research each booklet. You don't even have to buy them to know what it is you're going to purchase. You research all you want, and then when you decide what you want, you go to the bottom of the page, and there are buttons with the little cart pictures on them. You can add to your cart, and you can populate your cart and subtract and add whatever until you're happy, and then click, and you've got yourself a PDF file in your email that you can click on and learn. Learn how to get and stay well. One last story I'll share with you. In 1997, because of suppressed stress, I had liver cancer. Okay, and this is a message for your audience. Don't suppress your stress. It took me 23 days to get over it, going 100% natural. I don't have time for that. I have to help people. So I felt bad. I did have to cancel my clients for one day. The body will heal if you just know how to support it. Learn, get, and stay well. That's my message.
Your message is beautiful. Even your story involving your wife, even more beautiful. And stress, I can, as a testament to what you said, it is, in my opinion, and that's not medically driven, that's life. It is the thing that sends us heading toward the ground. It really is. And that story I mentioned regarding the herbals that I'd love to get to next time to prove how they work, that story's connected to stress. It completely is. Gene, wonderful having you here on the program. What's the website that we can find that literature?
BalancedHealthNH.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today and all the insight. Really, really good stuff, and looking forward next time we get together. And congratulations on
am too.
Our professional
I love
view.
to share solutions.
Oh, wow. That I literally on a Post-it note wrote down that organic code, and we'll be sharing that with many as we did today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll get together soon, okay?
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.